What's up, everyone? This video, I'll be breaking down fights on the upcoming pay-per-view. We have Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree for UFC 307 um, in Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay, first fight, we got um, Austin Hubbard versus Alexander Hernandez. Two guys who have been in the UFC. Hernandez for a long time. Hubbard, I think he was in the UFC before. Then yeah, he left. Was on the Ultimate Fighter, so now he's back in the UFC. He's coming off a win to Mikhail Figlak, who was undefeated before somebody beat him. Who beat Figlak? Um, so this is at okay 155. Who beat Figlak? I forgot who beat Figlak. Pereira. Okay. Um. So yeah. Two experienced guys in this matchup. I would say Hernandez is the more experienced guy. Um. So what? 23 fights for Hubbard. 22 for Hernandez. Um, but I think Hernandez, yeah, he has 13 in the UFC compared to Hubbard's 9. But I think Hernandez has fought the higher level competition in his UFC career. I mean, he's lost to guys like Donald Cerrone. That was his first loss in the UFC, Donald Cerrone. Drew Dober, who's always been close or in and out of the rankings at lightweight. Thiago Moises, high level grappler. Renato Moicano, we know how good Moicano can be some days. Um, so I would say in this matchup, Alexander Hernandez is the more experienced fighter. Um, Probably should have the power, the strength edge in this matchup. Um, this should be a fight that plays out on the feet. But Hernandez coming off two losses, a close fight with Damon Jackson, and then a unanimous decision loss to Bill Algeo. Who did he beat before that? Oh yeah, Jim Miller, who's, I mean, not terrible, but Jim Miller's definitely not in his prime anymore. Definitely way far from it, actually. Um, and like I said, Hubbard's coming off that win to Figlak, who was previously undefeated, I think two fights before that. And then going back to Hernandez, he's got TK loss to Billy Q, got subbed by Moicano, but not like I mean getting subbed by Moicano, that's Moicano can sub almost anyone in the lightweight division, almost anyone. Um, Only a 1 inch reach advantage for Hernandez. Is at a 1 inch height disadvantage. This fight will be at altitude. I think Factory X is not in Colorado or no? Yeah, so both fighters training at elevation. Um, I think I have to take into consideration that every fight on this card is everyone fighting at altitude, so fights could play out differently than they normally would, maybe like at the Apex or somewhere else. Um, but like I said, this should be a fight that plays out on the feet. I see this being a striking battle for probably 3 rounds. Um, is this lightweight or featherweight? Okay, light. This is a lightweight fight. Um, yeah, this should be a fight that plays out on the feet. I mean, both guys definitely have enough power to get to knock each other out. But I mean, both have pretty decent chins. I mean, we've seen our Hernandez get rocked quite a few times in the UFC, but so has Hubbard. I mean, he's gotten cracked too. So, I mean, this should be a really good fight, and it should be one that plays out on the feet, striking for 3 rounds. Um, Kind of a hard fight to pick. I mean, especially with Hernandez coming off two losses. Um, he's been in the UFC for a long time, but I mean, the third three fight skid is not good at all. And I don't know if he's ever been on a three fight skid. No, he's only been on two fight skid. So he really needs to win this fight. I don't really see. I mean, it's possible for either guy to get finished by a knockout, but both fighters' cardio should hold up, chin should hold up. Um, and Hernandez should probably have the slightly more te technical boxing. I mean, it's the stand-up Muay Thai. So, yeah, I'll take Hernandez ever so slightly, but this is really should be like a probably a pick 'em fight, honestly. Um, yeah, but I'll go Hernandez by decision, maybe a late round knockout if he can put the pressure on Hubbard. I mean, Hernandez is the type of fighter to walk people down and stay in their face, make it a war. So, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a three-round war. Hubbard's been in wars himself. Um, so I wouldn't count on any fighter here too heavily, but I'll take Hernandez ever so slightly by decision or maybe like a third round knockout. On the next fight, I mean, this is another hard fight to pick, honestly. We got Tim Means versus Court McGee. Two guys well out of their prime. Um, Means 3 inch height advantage. Um, McGee with the half-inch reach advantage. Um, Core McGee's been getting finished his last couple fights. Yeah, knocked out by Matt Brown, knocked out by Jeremiah Wells, got decision by Alex Morono. And I mean, before Tim Means' last win, which was over Fialho, who's not in the UFC anymore, Tim Means was on a good losing skid. Uh, 3 fight losing skid before his Fialho fight. I mean, Tim Means is 1-4 in the last 2 years. So, I mean, this is a hard fight to pick. Honestly, you would think that you'd probably take Tim Means for the experience edge, but I mean, both have plenty of fights in the UFC. Both have the ability to finish their opponent and get finished. Um, I mean, this is a hard fight to. I don't know why everyone's picking Tim Means here. I guess you could say that Tim Means is probably more sharp on the feet. He has pretty nice boxing. However, I mean, both of these guys are well out of their prime. Um, I feel like when you're at this point of your UFC career, like it's almost there's so much of a high chance of you being like having getting finished, especially with like both of these guys have been in wars. Like they've been in all the fights that they have fought in is usually a war. So Tim Means coming off a nasty knockout loss to Uros Medic. Um, I mean, this is a hard fight to pick, honestly. I mean, without that Fialho win, Tim Means is on a he's on a 4 fight skid, and then McGee's already on a 3 fight skid. So, I mean, these are two tough guys, but the problem in this matchup is, I mean, their durability, mainly their durability. Um, I mean, McGee hasn't won in almost 3 years. This should be a striking battle, 3 round, probably a war, honestly. If neither guy can finish each other and they don't get tired at altitude, should be a 3 round war. This fight is really up for grabs for either fighter. However, I mean, both of them are on their way out, man. I don't know. This is a really hard fight to pick for me, honestly. Not like I'm not a big fan of either fighter, but it's just a hard pick because of where they're at in their careers and how their last fights, probably 5 fights, have played out. Um, I mean, I guess I'll take Means here ever so slightly just for having probably sharper stand up. But I mean, also McGee could have the power edge in this one. So I mean, I'm not sure. Everyone picking Means here. I don't really know why. Um, I guess I'll take Means here by like a 3 round decision. But I mean, either guy could get knocked out in this fight. It's kind of like this is like a older version of the Alexander Hernandez Austin Hubbard fight. I mean, two guys who are have not been doing too good recently, but the thing in this fight is that these guys are way older and way out of their prime. So, um, and on their way out probably of the UFCs pretty soon here. So, um, I guess I'll take Means here by decision, maybe. Like I said, should have the cleaner stand up, cleaner boxing. So, I mean, I guess I'll take Means here, but this is a really hard fight to pick. Next fight, this was a fight that got moved back. I forgot when this fight was actually supposed to happen. We got Ryan Spann versus Ovin St. Peru. Um, this fight was supposed to happen UFC 305 maybe or no? Oh, this was supposed to happen for the Burns versus Brady Apex. Was that an Apex? Yeah, it was. Okay. This was supposed to happen during the Burns versus Brady fight night card. And originally I was picking OSP just because I mean Ryan Spann, um, he's been brutally knocked out by Bogdan Guskov. Shouldn't be going to a split decision with Anthony Smith at Smith's point in his career. And getting submitted by Krylov, I mean, not a bad loss exactly, but Krylov can look great some nights and terrible the other nights. So I wouldn't say that's the best loss at the same time. And his last win was over Dominic Reyes, that quick jab that knocked him out. But I mean, Span hasn't won in almost 2 years himself. Um, in this matchup, OSP is definitely the more experienced fighter, especially in the UFC. I mean, OSP's fought almost everybody in the light heavyweight division. Um, I mean, Teixeira, Ryan Bader, Krylov. He fought Krylov when Krylov was pretty good. Shogun Hua, John Jones, of course, Jimmy Manua, Volkan Ozdemir, Corey Anderson, Reyes. He fought Krylov twice actually. Jamal Hill. So I mean, in this matchup, OSP is definitely the more seasoned veteran fighter. Um, he'll be at a 2 inch height disadvantage, but he'll have a 1 inch reach advantage. Um, I mean, this is a well-versed fight. This is kind of I mean, probably everyone's picking Span here, yeah. But I feel like it's a closer fight than everyone thinks, especially with Ryan Span coming off 3 losses. Should Ryan Span win this fight? Yes. But at the same time, it's Ryan Span, so who knows what we're gonna see in the octagon when he's there. Um, but same thing with OSP. I mean, OSP is well out of his prime, not the OSP that used to beat up a lot of guys in the light heavyweight division. He's coming off that pretty big upset win over Kennedy and Zechiku. It was a split decision. Um, and before that, he got knocked out by Felipe Lins. He beat Shogun, who's well retired, but that was a split win, so not a really a good win. And before that, OSP was on a little skid himself. Um, maybe he wasn't. Yeah, he was. Um, this is a pretty. I mean, to me, this is a close matchup. OSP is well out of his prime, but I mean, Ryan Span's also not the most. What's the word I'm looking for? He's not the most dependable fighter. If you're gonna pick Ryan Spann, you cannot usually pick Ryan Spann with much confidence. That's the reason why. In the first matchup, I was not picking him. However, this fight is at altitude. OSP is older. I could probably see OSP getting tired if um, Ryan Spann doesn't like beat him up pretty early. Um, however, I think OSP might have the he might have the striking edge in this matchup. I definitely think that Span, I mean they probably have close to the almost the same amount of submissions. Span's got 12. OSP probably has maybe 10, 9. Okay. OSP has 9 submissions, so 9 versus what did I just say? 12. Um, two guys who can grapple. I feel like OSP probably has more knockouts. 3, 11. Yeah. 11 knockouts to Ryan Spann 6. So I feel like OSP will definitely be more comfortable on the feet in this matchup, striking than Ryan Spann will be. I think Ryan Spann will probably be the one wanting to grapple. However, at altitude, I mean, you never know how these fights can play out at altitude. Um, I mean, I could see either fighter, probably both fighters getting gassed somewhat early if Ryan Spann or either fighter doesn't find a finish pretty early. Um, I mean, both have proven themselves at this point in their career to be somewhat chinny, not that durable. I mean, I've seen OSP get worn out, get tired, but I mean, Ryan Spann also tends to slow down sometimes. I mean, he slowed down the Anthony Smith fight, and that's what cost him. And he got caught with Krylov, and I mean, Buskov just really just outstruck him on the feet. So, I mean, if Ryan Spann's trying to grapple in this fight, which you think he would because he's probably has a slight edge on the ground, should have the slight edge on the ground, grappling. But we don't know how tired that can make Ryan Spann. Um, will it wear on him his cardio? But same thing with OSP. I mean, OSP is not that dependable in this at this point in his career as well. Um, I mean, like I said in the first matchup, when this first was booked, I was picking OSP. But I feel like in this matchup at altitude, I might have to slightly lean Ryan Spann just because I could see OSP being older at his age, getting more tired quickly. But I mean, who knows how this fight will play out? I think Ryan Spann should win this, but like I said, Ryan Spann is not a dependable fighter. Um, I mean, I thought he was going to beat Anthony Smith. He lost. I had Guskov in that matchup, but I mean, the Smith loss is really what got me. Is like he got tired in that fight and he just let the fight slip away from him. Um, so Ryan Spann's key to victory should be probably mixing in his grappling, with his striking to make OSP slow OSP down, make him tired. However, I feel like OSP's key to victory is keeping it on the feet and striking with Ryan Spann and testing his chin, testing his durability, his cardio at high altitude. Um, so it's a hard pick. It's a hard fight to pick, but ever so slightly, I guess I'll lean Spann. Um, Everyone got Spann by knockout. But I wouldn't be surprised if OSP gets the knockout, honestly. Um, but I mean, I guess I'll take Spann here. I guess I'll take Spann here. Like maybe 2 knockout, second round knockout, third round. But I mean, this fight can go almost anywhere. I mean, if it goes to the ground, I could see Ryan Spann honestly getting tired. I could see OSP maybe. I mean, I get OSP doesn't submit a lot of guys unless it's with his Von Flue choke, but I mean, I could see OSP getting a finish almost anywhere on the ground and on the feet. But it's the same for Ryan Spann. I could see Ryan Spann getting a finish on the feet and on the ground. So um, I'll ever so slightly pick Ryan Spann, um, second round or third round knockout, maybe a decision. Who knows? But yeah, this fight is really hard to pick, so I'll move on from this one. This should be a really good fight. Also, a fight that plays out on the feet, I would think. I mean, that's definitely where Stephen Thompson wants it. We got Stephen Thompson, Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. Buckley's coming up. He's on a little run right now. He just knocked, or did he knock out Ruzaboyev or took him to decision? Oh, decision. Okay. He knocked out Vicente Luque, knocked out Fialho. That was a brutal knockout, actually. and got a decision win over Alex Morono. Wonder Boy's coming off that submission loss to Shavkat, which is not a bad loss at all. I mean, Shavkat's cream of the crop right now, one of the best welterweights in the world. And before that, Wonder Boy was coming off that TKO win over Kevin Holland. I think he broke his hand in that fight. Yeah. And before that, Wonderboy lost to Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad, the champ. So not bad losses in those two. I mean, none of these losses are really bad. I mean, if you ask me, Wonderboy's only lost to the best fighters in the UFC, or at least in his weight class at the time that he fought them. Darren Till at that time, undefeated, really good. Pettis at that time, probably not in his prime, not the prime Pettis, but not a terrible loss to lose to a former champion Pettis. And he lost to Tyron Woodley. So these are all, I mean, besides the Matt Brown loss, not bad losses at all in the past 7 years for Wonder Boy. Um, like I said, Joaquin Buckley's on a little run right now. We're definitely feeling himself. He was talking a lot previously in his fight before Ruzaboyev. Um, I picked Ruzaboyev in that matchup. Um, this should be a fight that plays out on the feet. We saw or we see Joaquin Buckley. Sometimes he likes to mix in his wrestling, his grappling. I mean, he was taking Vicente Luque down, got the TKO by ground and pound. He was taking down Ruzaboyev. I mean, he was striking with Ruzaboyev, but he was also taking him down as well and wearing Ruzaboyev out. Um, and Buckley's key to victory is definitely mixing in his grappling, trying to wear on Stephen Thompson. While Stephen Thompson's key to victory is obviously keeping it on the feet where he likes to all of his fights to be, um, and trying to knock out Joaquin Buckley. I feel like a lot of people will be pick. Okay, not a lot of people, but almost 60-40 Buckley. Um, I would not say this is definitely not prime Stephen Thompson. However, compared to most fighters out of their prime, Stephen Thompson's one of the best. He's still high level, especially with his striking, of course. Um, Buckley will be at a 1 inch. Oh, he'll have a 1 inch reach advantage and a 2 inch height disadvantage. Um, I see why more people are picking Buckley in this matchup. The more probably he's definitely gonna probably have the power edge in this matchup. Um, and he's definitely way more in his prime compared to Stephen Thompson. Um, however, the thing that worries me with Buckley, and I've seen a lot of his fights, is that he tends to rush in a lot, like just dart in. He does move his head not too bad, but I mean, we've seen him get clipped and caught and sometimes probably like knocked out against those long rangy fighters. I mean, he got knocked. I remember that knockout. Kevin Holland knocked him out. Amavov stunned him and rocked him a few times. Um, Chris Kurtz, I wouldn't say is a long rangy striker, but powerful striker. So when you see these losses to Buckley, these are all pretty seasoned high level strikers. I wouldn't say that Buckley I guess Buckley does. I wouldn't say Buckley has a bad IQ, but at the same time when it comes to striking, sometimes like I said he does rush in a lot. He just darts in and he gets clipped. And that's one thing that you cannot do against Stephen Thompson, especially like his stand up is really extremely high level. And I don't think that Buckley's grappling is nowhere on the level that it is of Gilbert Burns, Bilal Muhammad, or Shavkat. So when Buckley's trying to enter, um, entering the range of Stephen Thompson, he's gonna have to be extremely careful because Wonder Boy will clip him. Um, and I mean Wonder Boy, he's not the most powerful striker, but he's very, very accurate, and that's what matters is hitting your opponents in the right spots. And if Buckley gets, I feel like if Buckley, I mean, we've seen Buckley take hits on the chin and get knocked out, like Kevin Holland and Chris Curtis, and then the knockout head kick knockout loss to DeKiriko. He got hit like more on the temple. But I mean, Buckley has been susceptible to getting clipped, especially when he rushes in um, on the feet. So I feel like I'm gonna pick Wonder Boy in this fight. Um, Obviously, Wonder Boy's key to victory is keeping it on the feet, defending any grappling exchanges from Buckley. Buckley has to try to keep Wonder Boy's back on the fence so he can't move laterally back and forth. And so that Wonder Boy doesn't have enough space to get his strikes off and kind of counter Buckley. But if this is a fight that plays out in the middle of the octagon, not near the fence, I could see Wonder Boy outstriking Buckley pretty easily. I mean, Wonder Boy's definitely fought the more high level fighters. He's definitely gonna have the striking advantage in this fight, but um, he's not gonna have like the probably like just being in the prime, being in like Buckley's in his prime right now. He's young. He's on a good win streak, 4-fight win streak. Um, However, I don't know. I also don't. Another question mark is the altitude. I mean, like I said, Buckley carries a lot of muscle. Um, so I wonder if Buckley tries to extreme like push the fight a lot, bring the fight towards Stephen Thompson, if that can wear on Buckley's gas tank on his cardio. So this should be a good fight regardless. I'm gonna pick Wonder Boy here by like a round two knockout. I could see Buckley getting tired, honestly. If Buckley can't successfully mix in his grappling and take Wonder Boy down, it's going to be a long night for Buckley because he cannot strike with Wonder Boy. And yeah, that's basically how this fight goes. I mean, if Buckley's able to keep Wonder Boy on the fence and not moving how Wonder Boy usually moves, I mean, Wonder Boy's elusive and kind of it can be hard to hit Wonder Boy, but especially if you're not not that well versed in striking. Um, yeah, so this could either be a long night for Buckley or a quick night for him. He could either um just control Stephen Thompson with his grappling and mix in the striking sometimes, or he's gonna get knocked out. Buckley can get knocked out. Um, so yeah, I'll pick Wonder Boy here, round two knockout probably. That should be a really good fight though, regardless of who wins. I'm excited for that fight. I don't know how it's on the prelims. I mean, that should definitely, I'd rather see that than probably I don't know. That should be a good fight. Next fight, we got former champ Carla Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. Oh, whoa, both of the Penningtons are fighting on this card. I didn't even realize that. Um, this fight's at strawweight. I keep wanting to call her Tisha Torres, but Pennington is coming off that close fight to Ricci. I had Ricci in that fight, but I kind of thought that Tisha won. And before that, it was another close fight with Mackenzie Dern, and kind of thought Tisha won that fight as well. But I had and I also had Dern in that fight too. I was picking Dern, but I thought that Tisha kind of won it. Um, Carlos Esparza is coming off, hasn't fought in almost 2 years, or yeah, 2 years, almost 2 years. Coming off that loss when she lost her belt to Zhang Wei Li. Um, Yeah, and this I'm pretty sure this is Esparza's retirement fight. Um, not too excited for this fight, honestly, but it is what it is. Both stand at 5'1", and Esparza has a 2-inch reach advantage, but I don't think she'll be using it that much because obviously we know how pretty good grappling that Esparza is compared to Pennington. I mean, not that Pennington is a bad grappler, but Pennington is definitely a fighter that wants to fight on the feet and not wrestle too much. I mean, Pennington's last fight, we saw Ricci trying to grapple a lot, keep Pennington on the fence, control her, which Ricci didn't wasn't really able to take Pennington down that much and control her that well. So everyone picking Esparza here, I guess because it's her retirement fight. I don't know why. Um, in this matchup, Esparza will definitely have the advantage grappling, but I think Torres should have the or Pennington should have the advantage on the feet striking. Both out of their prime. I mean, 35 and 36. Um, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is Esparza's last fight before she retires. Um, and who knows how much time Pennington has left in the UFC. I think before that Ricci fight, she was coming off a pregnancy. So, I mean, who knows how many more fights that Pennington wants to take in the UFC before she says she's done also. So, um, who knows? Sparta should definitely have the grappling advantage, and I think Torres should have the striking advantage. Um, obviously, I see Esparza kind of using the game plan of what Ricci had, try to slow Torres down, take her down, obviously, but I could see Esparza kind of controlling uh Tisha on the fence. I mean, I don't see if why Ricci could control Torres on the fence or Pennington on the fence and Esparza couldn't. Um, however, I do think I keep trying to say Torres. Pennington should definitely be the faster fighter and probably the stronger fighter as well. Um, I mean, obviously, these are two veteran fighters in the UFC. I would say that Esparza slightly, I mean, it's kind of hard to say who fought the better fighters. I mean, Pennington fighting Joanna, Andrade, Zhang Wei Li, two former champions, one current, and then Marina Rodriguez, who's not a bad loss at all. But I mean, as far as quality wins go for Torres, there haven't been too many. But with the Sparza, she's coming. Her last one was that really boring fight with Rose, and then before that, she finished Yan Xiaonan. But I mean, a lot of uh Esparza's fights are extremely close. I mean, she split over Rodriguez, split over Michelle Waterson. Um, she's in a lot of close fights. So the way I see this fight playing out is kind of how Torres's last fight played out or Pennington's last fight played out with Ricci. Um, I could see Esparza walking Pennington down, trying to control her. If she can't take her down, she'll try to control her on the fence, mix in her clinch fighting. Um, but I think honestly, I think Pennington should be strong enough to defend the grappling from Esparza. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but crazy. But from what I saw that last fight with Ricci, I definitely think Torres could hold her own in the grappling department. So I mean, I'm gonna take Torres here. Um, everyone picking. I mean, I'm gonna pick Pennington here, but everyone picking Esparza. This really is not an important fight for me. Um, but yeah, so I'll pick Pennington by decision. I don't see any lady getting a finish in this fight. Um, this is an exciting fight right here. We got Cesar Almeida versus Ihor Potieria. Potieria coming off that nasty knockout loss to Michel Pereira. Um, then before that, he beat Shogun, or excuse me, Robert Brychek. Um, and then before that, got knocked out by Adolfo Beato and got brutally knocked out by Allberg. Before that is when he beat Shogun. I'm gonna start off with Potieria here. Potieria, 2 inch height advantage, 1 inch reach advantage. Potieria is a fighter that is going to be getting most of his work done on the feet. However, one of the biggest problems with Potieria is his chin. He has almost zero to no durability. Um, yeah, his striking defense not good. His chin not good. Cardio not good. Um, yeah, so there's not too many upsides for Potieria. Um, especially when you're facing a high level striker like Cesar Almeida. Um, this is a fight that should definitely play out on the feet. I mean, unless Potieria wants to mix in his grappling, I could see why he would want to mix in grappling against someone like Cesar Almeida, who we saw had trouble with grappling in his last fight. But I don't really see any path to victory here for Potieria on the feet or grappling. Um, does he probably have the better grappling than Almeida? Probably, but ever so slightly. And will he actually be able to take Almeida down without taking enough big risks and getting clipped? I don't think so. Onto Almeida in this matchup. Older guy in the UFC. I think this is only his second fight. Yep, second fight in the UFC. His first win was over Dylan Budka. Good knockout win. And that win, we saw Budka trying to utilize his grappling, take Almeida down around Almeida, but Almeida ended up finding the finish. Um, and in Almeida's most recent fight, we saw him face Roman Kopylov. Kopylov, a pretty well-seasoned striker himself, on the level of Almeida, probably not. No. And we saw in this matchup that Kopylov was actually really utilizing his grappling. And that's how you know that a lot of people don't really want to strike with Almeida. He's a good striker, powerful striker too. He knows what he's doing. This is a guy that's, I mean, he's faced Alex Pereira. Um, he's a really good striker, man. As far as kickboxing on the feet goes. But I mean, obviously, like we saw his last fight, does have pretty big holes in the grappling. And I'm wondering and trying to see that in this matchup, has he fixed some of those holes? Um, and he's not an experienced I mean, he's an experienced fighter in general, but as far as MMA goes, he's not that experienced. He's only has 6 MMA fights. Um, in this matchup, he will definitely have the striking advantage. Should he have the power advantage? Yes. Cardio advantage? Yes. Durability advantage? Yes. Um, this I feel like every single thing plays in the favor of Almeida. He has almost every advantage everywhere you look in this fight compared to Potieria. Um, I see this as a fight playing out on the feet. I mean, as we saw in Potieria's last fight, I mean, he got choked out. Yeah, he got chinned, and then he got choked out by Pereira. Will Almeida be the one to knock out Potieria? Probably, but will he be the one to submit him? Most like 90% not. Um, in this fight, I see this being like a 3 round, not even a 3 round striking battle. I just see it being a fight played out on the feet, and I could see Almeida getting a finish pretty early. I mean, rounds probably, honestly, probably round one. Um, Almeida's stand-up game is levels above Potieria's, and like I said, Almeida should have the advantage in almost every box that you look at. Every box that you check off when breaking down fights, I feel like everything will be for Almeida. Um, besides probably the age difference and the experience. Um, Potieria will have the experience in MMA, and be the younger fighter. That's about it. But like I said, I see Almeida getting a finish early. Honestly, round one, if not round one, then round two knockout. I mean, this shouldn't be that hard of a fight to pick for anyone. I mean, yeah, 89% going Almeida, so I'm definitely picking Almeida in this one right off the bat. But should be a pretty. I mean, I see Almeida putting on a good performance in that fight. Next fight, we have Marina Rodriguez versus Yasmin Lucindo. Lucindo coming off that win to Kovacevic, who's out of her prime. She beat Brogan Walker, who's I don't think is in the UFC anymore, and Poliana Viana, who's can either look really good some fights or really bad. So, um, I mean, Lucindo's still really young, only 22 years old in the UFC. Um, this is almost like a split fight for people picking on Tapology. Everyone ever so slightly going with Marina. Um, Rodriguez will have a 3-inch height advantage, but be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. She's coming off that loss to Andrade at UFC 300. Kind of a close fight. I mean, pretty close fight. Before that, she knocked out Michelle Waterson. Before that fight, lost to Virna Jandiroba and got knocked out by Amanda Lemos. Um, Rodriguez definitely not in her prime anymore. Definitely older. 37 years old. That's kind of old. But I mean, um, she's definitely fought, has way more experience fighting high level fighters. Um, like Lemos, good striker. Yan Xiaonan, good striker. Um, but I feel like the problem with Rodriguez is that she makes a lot of fights closer than they need to be. Um, I think in this matchup, she will definitely have the striking advantage, and this should be a fight that plays out on the feet. Um, Marina should be able to keep Lucindo at bay, kind of just outpoint her for 3 rounds. That's how I see her winning the fight. Lucindo obviously has to get on the inside, and has to make it a tough fight for Rodriguez. Rodriguez likes to make her fights look clean, stay on the outside, really just outpoint her, whoever she's fighting. And I think that if that's what happens in this fight, Lucindo will lose. Lucindo's got to make it an ugly fight because that's where we see Rodriguez have problems. Like Andrade made it an ugly fight that last fight, and that's why Rodriguez probably lost. Um, yeah, I'm not too excited for this fight, but I do somewhat like watching Rodriguez fight because she is a pretty clean striker. She has pretty nice striking, so I like watching her fight sometimes. Um, I'll take her ever so slightly in this fight, by a 3-round decision. I don't see any fighter getting a finish in this fight. Next fight should be really good. We got Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Um, Dolidze coming off his last win to Anthony Smith, which was honestly kind of boring, but and then Holland's coming off his win to Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, right? Yep. I'll start off with Dolidze. Dolidze is a pressure fighter, likes to make all of his fights a war. I mean, does not have the best striking defense, does not have the best gas tank. Grappling is pretty good. Um, Chin, pretty good chin. I would say his chin holds up. I mean, we did see in that Amavov fight, he got clipped kind of a lot. Um, and Vittori kind of just outclassed him. But I mean, we see that Dolidze has just like raw power. I mean, the way he knocked out Phil Hawes, and then he had Hermanson in a weird position and knocked him out. Um, so Dolidze is a pressure fighter, makes all of his fights a war, and really ugly. I mean, there's not a fight that Dolidze is not in. It's not a dog fight. Um, his path to victory will be, if he stands in front of Holland, I could see Holland clipping him. Um, his path to victory, Dolidze's path to victory is mixing in his grappling, trying to control Holland on the ground because we have seen Holland have some problems with if he gets taken down, it's hard for Holland to get up sometimes. Um, so Dolidze's key to victory is using his grappling for sure, especially at a 5-inch reach disadvantage. Um, I mean, Holland has way more fights in the UFC. Holland's got what? Is that 21? Dolidze's probably has like 6 or 7. Okay, he has 10. Um, but yeah, Holland way more fights in the UFC. A lot of these wins that the Leeds A has, guys are not in the UFC anymore. Star Poli's not in the UFC. Kyle Dawkins not in the UFC. Phil Hall's not in the UFC. Trevin Giles, I think he still is, I believe, but hasn't been doing too good lately. John Allen not in the UFC. Kais Ibrahimov not in the UFC. So not too many well-aging wins for the Leeds A. And this fight is at should be at, I'm saying middleweight. So yeah, last fight, the lead day stepped in against Smith at light heavyweight, but this fight's at middleweight. And who knows? I mean, like I said, Delide doesn't have really the best gas tank. So who knows how he'll look at altitude. Um, yeah, it's really hard to pick the lead there in this matchup. Kevin Holland's a fighter that wants to get it done on the feet, but also has shown that he has a pretty good submission game. He's no slouch on the ground. But he has been able to get controlled by some people. He got controlled by Brunson. Definitely got controlled by Hamza and submitted. Um, Vittori controlled them, ran out and out grappled them. So we have seen some people be able to out grapple Holland. Um, and I mean Holland hasn't been looking that well in his last few fights. I mean, obviously, I was at the JDM fight. Um, actually, I was at two Kevin Holland fights. I saw him get submitted by Hamza in person. And I saw him fight JDM at UFC Noche. And the problem with Kevin Holland is really like I think it's his IQ. Like he's a well he knows what he's doing on the feet. I mean, he's well rounded everywhere. But problem is his IQ. Um and recently, I mean, he got knocked down by Olajaychik, which kind of surprised me. Um Actually really surprised me. Because if anything, I thought that Holland would be the one knocking down Olajaychik. Um, I feel like yeah, Holland hasn't looked too good in his last few fights at all, really. He's definitely gonna have the experience edge in this one. Gonna have the reach advantage in this one. He's gonna have the stand up advantage in this one. Um, should have the gas tank advantage. I'm not sure about Chin, probably, but I mean, got rocked against MVP, got dropped against Ola Jacek. So I mean, everyone's gonna be picking Holland. Okay, not as much as I thought. 60 to 40, really. Um, but the problem that worries me with the lead there in this fight is him moving back down to middleweight and the fight being at altitude. In this fight, I could see Kevin Holland just outstriking Dolidze for 3 rounds and maybe finding a late finish in like round three. Um, so I'm gonna pick Kevin Holland in this matchup. Um, but not that confidently. Like if you ask me like maybe like 2 years ago how I thought this fight would play out, I would probably say Kevin Holland round one knockout pretty easily. But with the way that Kevin Holland has looked in his last few fights. Um, I can't pick him too confidently, but I'm still gonna pick him. Um, he has the edge almost everywhere. Honestly, the lead day might be stronger, but Holland should have the speed edge most definitely. So I'll take Holland by probably like a round three knockout or decision, but that should be a really good fight regardless. Um, Four fights left. Next fight, we got Kayla Harrison versus Ketlin Vieira. And I like to watch Vieira fight actually. Harrison, her second fight in the UFC after coming from over from the PFL. Um, she had that quick submission win over Holly Holm. Um, Vieira has the more experience in the UFC. I mean, like I said, this is Harrison's only first fight in the I mean, second fight in the UFC, excuse me. Um, but it's not like Harrison has fought that many bad fighters in the PFL. I mean, she fought Pacheco a bunch of times. Um, but that's really it. I mean, besides Pacheco, there's no really extremely experienced high level fighters that Kayla Harrison has fought. I mean, there's been many times where Vieira was close to getting a title shot. I remember when she was undefeated and before she got knocked out by Irene Aldana. She was a good prospect for the 135ers. And then beat Sajara Eubanks, lost Tiana Santos, came back with Holly with a win over Holly Holm and Misha Tate, and then lost to the current champ Pennington. And Vieira's coming off a win over to Panny Kianzad, and I think Kianzad just got cut actually. But we haven't seen Vieira in over a year, and we just saw Harrison at UFC 300 4 months ago. Um, I mean, everyone obviously going to pick Harrison here, and I will too. But I feel like it's a closer fight than most people think because it's not like Vieira is really bad anywhere. She has good striking, and she has the ability to get it down on the ground. I mean, she outstruck Holly Holm, um, who's obviously like probably one of the best strikers for women fighters. Obviously, Holly Holm's not in her prime anymore, but still a really good striker to beat. Um, Harrison should definitely have the strength advantage in this one, that's for sure. And should have the grappling edge. I mean, obviously Harrison's a high level judo practitioner. Um, and we see like once Harrison's able to get her opponents to the ground, she's able to really beat them up either with its ground and pound or just simply controlling them and keeping them on the ground. It's hard for women to get up off their backs when Kale's on top of them. Um, in this fight, I see Ketlin Vieira, trying to keep it a stand-up fight. Obviously, defend the grappling from Kayla Harrison. And obviously, Harrison's key to victory is utilizing her grappling and trying to get Vieira down, get a finish by submission or ground and pound. But I don't think that Harrison is that far behind than Vieira on the feet. I think Harrison should be able to hold her own and get on the inside of Vieira, take Vieira down, and get a finish. Honestly, either by submission or ground and pound in rounds, um, two or three. And if Harrison's not able to finish Vieira, then she should definitely be able to get the win by decision. So, this is a pretty easy fight to pick. I mean, I see this being Harrison winning this fight and then getting the title shot next, honestly. Yeah. So I'm gonna pick Harrison in this fight by finish rounds two or three, submission or knockout, either one. Next fight, we got Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista. Um, Jose Aldo, 2 inch height disadvantage, 1 inch reach advantage. He's coming off a win to Jonathan Martinez. And most people were picking Martinez in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. I was picking Aldo. Um, you know, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, actually, okay, not as much as I thought. Kind of a 50-50 fight that people were picking on Tapology. But I think in this matchup, um, Aldo obviously will definitely have the advantage on the feet. Um, However, Bautista is a fighter that likes to really mix his martial arts when he fights. He likes to mix in his grappling with his striking and so on and so forth. Um, he has good training partners at the MMA lab. Um, Obviously, we've heard Sean O'Malley speak highly of Bautista. Um, Bautista, I think he's coming off his last win over Damon Blackshear, or no, Ricky Simone. And before that was Damon Blackshear, and actually had Blackshear winning that fight. Um, um, Bautista's key to victory in this matchup, the way that I see Bautista winning, if he does win, it's kind of like using like the Marab game plan that Marab used when he fought Aldo. Obviously, Marab is a fighter that wants to get a lot of takedowns, control his opponent, but wasn't able to. But he still controlled Aldo on the fence, but wasn't really able to take Aldo down at all. Um, and I kind of see Bautista needing to use the same strategy as Marab. Just control Aldo as much as he can and wear on Aldo. Obviously Aldo way out of his prime, but should definitely have the advantage on the feet in this fight. Um, and I did, even though I picked Aldo in his last fight, he slowed down against Martinez. I mean, we saw him really rock Martinez bad, but then he didn't really go for the finish, and I think that's because he didn't want to maybe put himself at risk because he was already tired enough and he knew he was winning the fight. Um, However, the question is, I mean, I think that fight was at altitude too against Marab, if I'm not mistaken. That was on the card of, wasn't that the Usman Edwards 2 card, if I'm not mistaken? Yes, it was. And that was at altitude in Salt Lake City. So last time Aldo fought in Salt Lake City, he lost. Um, so who knows what it's like for Aldo to fight at altitude if it really has an effect on him. Should it have an effect on Bautista? No. Um, Seeing this, that kind of worries me now about Aldo realizing that his last fight he lost at altitude in Salt Lake City. Um, am I rooting for Aldo personally as a fan, as a big Aldo fan? Yes. Do I think he has the better striking? Yes. Cardio is the problem for me in this matchup. Um, I'm gonna pick Aldo ever so slightly here, but for people to be 82-18 on Aldo, way too wide. This is more of like honestly, like I feel like this should be like the last Aldo fight. This should be like what was it, 53-47? Yeah, this should be like a 50-54-46 fight for Aldo. Feel like this fight is way closer than it was than the Martinez fight. Um, I mean, it's not like Bautista's lost in a while. Lost to Trevin Jones, not a good loss at all, but Sandhagen's not a bad loss at all. Um, and we see that Bautista has the ability to get finishes either by knockout or usually submission. Um, if this fight goes to the actual ground, Bautista will have the advantage. But as far as clinch work goes and on the fence, honestly, I think Aldo should will have the advantage. But the question is how much it will wear on Aldo. That's what worries me. I'm gonna pick Aldo ever so slightly here. Honestly, I see this fight playing out just like um Aldo's fight did with Marab in Salt Lake a couple years ago. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna pick Aldo ever so slightly here, but I would not be surprised at all if Bautista gets the win here. And I guess I'll pick Aldo by decision. I don't really see any fighter getting a finish here. Yeah, I see it going all 3 rounds. Next up, we got the co-main event: Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. I accidentally picked Pena. I'm gonna pick Pennington here. Um, this will be Pennington's first defense of her title, coming off the win to Bueno Silva. And Pena's coming off her last. I guess she hasn't fought in a couple years. Her last fight was against Amanda Nunes, when right before Nunes retired. Actually, I think Nunes fought. Didn't she fight Aldana after that? Anyways, Pena's last fight was to Amanda Nunes, probably the undisputed best women's fighter of all time. I mean, I'm a really big Valentina fan, but I mean, Nunes has the wins over Valentina, so can't really deny that Nunes is the GOAT female fighter. Um, but anyways, back to this fight, Pena versus Pennington. Um, Pena will be at a 1 inch height disadvantage, and she'll have a 1.5 reach advantage. Um, Cardio should not be a problem for either fighter in this matchup. Um, However, Pennington definitely has the cleaner striking, but I feel like Pena will have the grappling advantage in this fight. Both two well experienced fighters in the UFC. Um, Pena's only really lost to good fighters, honestly. She lost to Nunes, Durandamy, former champ, Shevchenko, former champ. So her 3 UFC losses are not bad at all. However, besides that Nunes win, there's not that many good wins for Pena in the UFC. As far as Pennington goes, I believe she lost to Nunes as well. Former champ, lost to Holly Holm, former champ, lost to Durandamy, former champ, Andrade, former champ. So not bad losses for Pennington at all. But at the same time, not that many great wins, you could say. But I mean, it's not like there's a lot of competition for women 135ers. I mean, I guess Misha Tate, good win. Aldana, good win. Um, Vieira, decent win. Bueno Silva, pretty good win, I would say, but not that many wins that stand out for Pennington. Um, Pennington's key to victory, keeping it on the feet, um, kind of taking Amanda Nunes' game plan that she had in her second fight with Pena. Um, Keeping a technical fight with Pena because, as we know, Pena likes to make all of her fights a dogfight, and sometimes her opponents make mistakes when she gets them in that dogfight, and she capitalizes on them as well. Um, Pena will probably have the grappling advantage in this one. Pennington stand-up advantage. Pena's key to victory, mixing in her striking and her grappling. Um, Obviously we see Pena rush in a lot, get hit with a lot of shots. Um, and Pennington should be able to outstrike Pena on the feet, especially in cut. Pennington should be able to catch Pena if she's rushing in. Um, Pena has to really mix up her grappling and striking really well in this fight if she wants to win the belt. Um, I feel like everyone's gonna probably be picking Pennington here. Okay, almost 70-30. Obviously, Pena's last fight, she got extremely outclassed by Nunes. Um, I'm gonna pick Pennington here, but um, I would not be surprised if Pena really just makes this a dogfight and is able to beat Pennington. Pennington, I had Bueno Silva. Actually, did I pick Bueno Silva? Forgot who I picked in that matchup. Okay, so I picked Pennington, but I thought watching the fight that Bueno Silva was on her way to winning, and I don't know what happened exactly, but wasn't the best performance from Bueno Silva in that fight. But Pennington did win the belt. Um, I do think that Pennington will be able to outstrike Pena for 3 rounds. I don't see either fighter really getting a finish here. The question is, uh, if Pena will be able to control Pennington on the ground and how well Pennington will be able to get up if she's taken down. But I do think that Pennington should be able to outstrike Pena for 5 rounds. So I will be picking Pennington by decision. I don't see any fighter getting a finish. Um, yeah, I think that's this how this fight will play out is Pennington getting a win by decision and defending her belt for the first time. Next fight, um, main event, we got Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree. Pereira's been on a tear, knocking everybody out. Knocked knocked Yuri out. Knocked Jamal Hill out before that. Knocked out Yuri before that. And then win before that was Blachowicz. So undefeated at light heavyweight, Pereira is. Um, in this matchup, he'll have a 3 inch height advantage and a 3.5 reach advantage. Um, this will be his what third defense, excuse me. Everyone's gonna be picking Pereira here. Not surprised at all. But Roundtree is no slouch, man. He's no slouch. He has good striking. Maybe not on the level that you think of Alex Pereira, but Khalil Roundtree is good, man, and he has power. He has power. Um, I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Khalil Roundtree in this fight. Maybe because he does not have one of the prettiest records, and we've seen him get finished before in the UFC. But I mean, this is a fight you cannot sleep on Khalil Roundtree. He is hungry. I know he does have the ability to win. You cannot tell me he does not. His Muay Thai is nice. Do I think he will grapple in this fight? No. Um, what was it? A 2.5 or 3.5 reach disadvantage? Okay. So 3.5 reach disadvantage. Um, if you take out the losses that Roundtree has to Pacquiao and Cutelaba, I mean, Walker can sometimes beat some of the best fighters on the night and then lose to the worst. Uh, but it's not like I wouldn't say Johnny Walker's a great person to lose to. Tyson Pedro at that time, not that bad of a loss, and neither fighter was that experienced at that time in their career. Um, I'm just gonna be looking at Roundtree's fights since um his fight against Modestas Bukauskas, when he had that he took Bukauskas out of the UFC when he destroyed Bukauskas leg with that like side kick, whatever I call it, the oblique, whatever, that kind of like the John Jones kick to the leg. He destroyed Modestas leg and kind of he took him out of the UFC for a minute. But after that, he beat the crap out of Carl Robertson. Somewhat of a close fight with Jacoby. I thought he kind of won it convincingly. It shouldn't have been a split, but it was a split. Then he absolutely decimated Chris Dawkins and he decimated Anthony Smith. Um, as far as the advantages go in this fight, Roundtree is gonna be the more experienced MMA fighter. He has more MMA fights, especially in the UFC. Uh, so I would slightly give the experience edge to Roundtree, striking edge to Pereira. Um, Power edge. I don't know who it goes to honestly, because both guys are really strong. Um, the thing is with Pereira, he is very strong, but when he strikes, he hits people like clean in the right spots, which that's what puts them out cold. That's what put Yuri out. That's what put Jamal Hill out. And that's what caught Izzy when Izzy lost at middleweight. Pereira, yes, he's very strong, but he's also very accurate. He knows like when he hits guys, he hits them in the right spot. All right, that sounded crazy, but uh Pereira is extremely accurate. So he should have like he'll have the striking edge in this one. But as far as defense goes, I mean, we have seen Pereira have ability to get hit and get I mean he got caught against Izzy. He didn't really get caught in any of his fights at light heavyweight, but um he has shown some tiny bit holes in his defense, but the thing that makes up for it is his power and his accuracy and his striking. I do this. This is definitely got to be a fight that's going to be playing out on the feet. Neither guy grappling. Definitely not Pereira grappling. Um, I feel like if Roundtree wants to win this fight, he has to literally walk Pereira down and throw his strikes in combination. Because once Pereira gets too comfortable, he's gonna let off his strikes the whole night and get and build his confidence up. The more that Pereira is able to stand there in front of you without you backing him up and landing on him, he gets more confident and he tends to outstrike you as the fight goes on. Um, Most people, I mean, like everyone's picking Pereira here, and Pereira should definitely win this fight, but I would not be surprised if Roundtree wins. Call me crazy, but I would not be surprised if Roundtree wins, honestly. Roundtree, like I said, he's been in the UFC for a long time. Um, who knows who has the real power edge in this one? Yes, you would think Pereira just because he flatlines guys, but it's because Pereira is so accurate. He's deadly accurate. He's a sniper. Um, but if Roundtree is able to throw his strikes in combination and not let Pereira get comfortable, he has a great chance at winning this fight. Um, so should Pereira definitely win this fight and make his third defense at light heavyweight? Yes. Um, but I would not be surprised if finds a way to win somehow, dude. Um, he has to keep Pereira on the back foot and just not let Pereira get comfortable. Because when Pereira gets comfortable, it's deadly for whoever he fights. Um, and I don't think that I mean Roundtree's already said that he does not really want to grapple in this fight. Like, why would he lead himself astray from what's got him to this point, from his like in which is his striking. So I'm gonna pick Pereira, but as far as tapology goes, I'm gonna pick Roundtree just because I would not be surprised if he won. A lot of people are sleeping on him, and I feel like there's been a lot bigger gaps um between fighters and upset wins. I mean, as far as Amanda Nunes goes and Pena, obviously these are women fights, so it's a little bit different, but Pena's nowhere near on the level of Nunes, and no one expected Pena to win the fight. Same with Grasso and Valentina. Um, First fight, I don't want to say it was a fluke. It was not a fluke because um Grasso capitalized on Valentina's mistake. But in the second fight, I did think that Valentina won. But to get back to my point, in the first fight, the gap between the two fighters, no one expected Grasso to win. Same thing with Izzy and Strickland. No one expected Strickland to win. GSP and Matt Serra, no one expected Serra to win. I can go and look at a few other UFC biggest upsets. Rousey versus Holm. No one expected Holm to win. Silva versus Weidman. No one gave Weidman a chance. Renan Barão versus TJ Dillashaw. No one gave Dillashaw a chance. Um, Usman Edwards too. Everyone counted out Leon Edwards. I mean, and I feel like the gaps in between all of these upsets were way bigger than they are in this matchup with Khalil Rountree and Alex Pereira. Feel like Rountree matches up well with Pereira in this fight. So I'm gonna my mind says Pereira, but my heart says Rountree. So if you're gonna pick anyone, I would say to pick Pereira, but I mean, I would not be surprised if Rountree won. So, but overall, regardless of who wins, this should be an extremely action-packed fight. I'm excited for it. Yeah, that's about it. So good luck to you, whoever you pick. And I hope it's an exciting fight that we all enjoy. So I'll see you guys next time for the next UFC event.